Hello, and welcome to Too Stupid to Live, a podcast that reviews romance novels $5 and under. I'm your host, Becky Feldman, and if you can believe it, it's been 20 years since I graduated high school. I didn't go to the reunion. I'm actually not even sure if we had one. But like with social media, do people even need reunions anymore? Like we all know what we look like now, what we do now. You know, I take that all back. We all could know what we look like now and what we do now, if it interests you. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that today's book made me reflective upon high school like a reunion would have. Because this book, yes, does take place in high school. And there were moments where when I was reading it, I was like, this feels exactly like my high school experience. But then there were so many other moments where I was like, oh, this is not at all like my high school experience. So because of that, I feel like I went on the emotional roller coaster that I would have been on had I gone to the reunion. I was nostalgic. I got sad, but in a positive, in a positive way that's like healthy. You know what I mean? Listen, I'm doing fine. So this is all to say, thank you for that experience, Penelope Douglas, who is the author of today's book, which is Punk 57, and it is currently $3.99. And I am so excited about my guest today. It's an improv sketch comedy friend of mine. The hilarious Nicky Urban is here. And boy, did we feel our feelings. And we had such a fun discussion. So please enjoy this review of Punk 57. Well, Nicky, welcome to Too Stupid to Live, the podcast.
Oh, what a great title of a podcast. And a great concept too. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, I've been wanting to have you on for such a long time, just because I follow you on social media and just kind of like your sketches and things like that. And it's just like, I've always in the back of my mind, I was like, Nikki's going to come on one of these days, and it's happening now.
Well, it's so great to be on because, I love books. I love reading books ever since I was a kid. But romance novels, okay, I read a lot of these when I was younger.
Yeah.
And so now, and I've gotten out of it. So this was sort of like a reintroduction into it.
Oh, wow. And this book is like an insane reintroduction because it is like, it's an introduction for me because it's unlike anything that I have ever read before. But before we get to that, like, what kind of romance novels did you read when you were younger? Like, what kind of, like, did you like the historical ones, or what was your like cup of tea?
Okay. I'm gonna. This I always thought was a romance novel until I got older and was like, no, that was not a romance novel.
That always happens.
Really messed up. It was V.C. Andrews' Flowers in the Attic.
Oh,
I don't know why
yeah.
I thought that was a romance novel. It's not.
It's not. Everyone did. Everyone thought it was a romance novel because, like, there is something, like, it is so taboo. I mean, it's the most taboo thing of all time. And it's like some people find it, like, it sticks in the back of your mind. Is that because it's slightly titillating? Who knows? Maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But I did like, there was this one book that I read when I was younger called It Had to Be You. And I think that counts in the sports romance category, which I almost suggested when you asked me what genre I was interested in. I was like, oh, maybe that. I thought that was really interesting and weird, like sports romance.
Yep, big thing.
Yeah, basically I liked anything, especially erotica, like anything that had sex, like graphic descriptions of sex. I loved that when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. I'm giving like the look like, well, like when I was a kid. Yeah, but I guess that's pretty normal, I found out.
100%, because it's like everyone has picked these up as kids. It's like, and it's also like I think integral in like someone's development. Like I wish I had read these books younger just to know like what an orgasm was by the time I was of age, and like knowing my body and like what I want, what I don't want, and like communication. It's like, oh, I wish this was the first book I ever read. Like, no, not that. Like, fuck Hungry Caterpillar. I'm gonna read.
Oh my God.
So you, when I asked you what subgenre you're interested in, you said, "Is there something punk?" And I was like, "That is fascinating. I'm gonna find something." Tell me what it is about like punk and what you were thinking, like your thought process behind that.
Really? Well, I guess I could kind of consider myself to be punk, but like, or maybe a poser. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But when my very first like sexual experience was with somebody who was so punk that their name was Old School Tony, like old school punk. I do a character on him, like I do him as a character because
Uh-huh.
it's so I was like punk related was really like I don't know. It's interesting. I was like, where could they go with that? How could they do this? Because
Yeah.
it's not a terribly romantic genre of music or style.
But it's very, there's emotions there,
Oh, sure.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
lots of
oh,
emo.
yeah, yeah. Like, okay, this is such a dumb question, but like, I know the word punk. I've heard punk music. I have seen people in this world who are punks, who say they are punks. But like, what is punk?
That's the question. I think that's like a philosophical question
Okay.
that has no answer. Like,
Got it. Okay.
I mean, ultimately, it's rebelling against the norm, or it's standing up for injustice. It's actively choosing to be different, or it could just be you like the music. I don't know.
Right.
You're angry
Yeah.
and you like the music and you want to be in a circle pit. I don't know.
Well, that kind of like segues into this book, which I like, going against the man and standing up for yourself and like, being
Right.
bullied, this is, I realized like a third in, I'm like, oh my God, this is bully romance. I've heard of it. I always wanted to avoid it because bullying is like, it's a loaded
Yeah.
situation. It's a loaded word. It can bring up a lot of things. But then but I was like loving the book,
Right.
and so then it was just mind blowing because I was like, I don't want to read anything bullying. It's going to bring up bad memories, or I'm going to think something. I'm going to think this. And granted, this book did bring up a lot for me, but like I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I wonder if it's because the characters themselves are like, you know, they're neither of them are really like underdogs.
Yes.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like both of them are pretty like not secure in themselves, just like, neither and so having both of them sort of bully each other in a way or just be generally like rude or uncouth to each other, it's sort of like, oh, yeah, you could both be taking it down a couple notches. So,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the book that we are reviewing is Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas and is currently $3.99, originally published in 2016. So, Nikki, I was writing a like I usually like write a synopsis and like say it at this point, but I was like writing it and then I realized like this sounds like an Avril Lavigne song. So my synopsis is inspired by it's a poem inspired by Avril Lavigne. Okay, so this is about Ryan and Misha. They're two high schoolers. So, okay. I should have been doing this instead of work. I mean, I should not have been doing this and I should have been doing, is my point. Okay, anyway. Okay. He was a boy. She was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious? Pen pals were they since fifth grade. What more can I say? He wanted her. She'd never tell. Secretly, she wanted him as well. But when they met face to face, he thought she was mean, which only added to her low self-esteem. He was a faker, boy. She was like, I want you, boy. But he's keeping his real identity from her. But she's been fake too. So can love really pull through? Can things ever be what they were?
Oh my God.
This made me feel things.
Yeah, that's incredible. But not only a great synopsis of it without giving too much away,
Yeah.
but also a great song. Just like all of the songs, the great songs that we read in the book.
Yeah. I mean, it starts off as like the book starts with like, here's my playlist. And it's just like, I saw like the artists, and the fact that I knew some of the artists and didn't know some of the other artists, I'm like, okay, an adult wrote this. These are going to be interesting teenagers. I don't think they're going to be realistic teenagers at all.
Yeah. Also, I feel like, I don't know how old the author is, but I feel like she's got to be like in her 30s, like a millennial, because some of these music choices, the references are kind of old. They're like, you know, I know it was 2016, but it was like, oh, Eminem, and
that he was old then. He was old.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I always like noticed that like they mentioned iPods, like she listened to music on her iPod, and it's like, you know, and I don't mean to like be nitpicky about anything, but like, you know, no one really uses iPods anymore. And so when I read that in any sort of like book, I'm like, okay, this is not written by it, which I'm fine with. And I just go into this place in my head where I'm like, this is just an alternate universe where like, teenagers are good at sex, they have really good taste in music, and like they like learn lessons well.
I don't know. I thought this book was pretty close to, not close to like my high school experience, but like, man, the whole time I was like, this is so much, some of this is a lot like my relationship with Tony, like when I was in high school. Just like, I mean, yeah, I don't know, sexy.
Oh yeah. And it brought up like, I say that the character in this book like was unrealistic, but I did relate to them like in a realistic way, because like they like kids are little shits, you know what I mean? Like I like was like not great in high school, you know, like not that I was like a bully, but I definitely like wasn't perfect as you would see on like a high school TV show, or maybe like a high school YA romance novel. Like we all had so much angst, and this was the most angsty teenager I think since I've ever read, since like Holden Caulfield or whatever.
Yeah,
so much at stake.
Angsty. Yeah, so much.
Yeah.
Oh my God, and the stakes are so high, and there's all these, you know, the relationship with the father and all of that. Oh, do we need to talk about, give specifics on this here?
Oh, we can give specifics, sure. Yeah. So, like, basically, we have Ryan, who is, like, this popular girl in school. And she goes, and she has this pen pal that she's been pen pals with since she was in 5th grade, and they tell each other everything. And that's Misha. So, finally, like, I guess maybe, like, Misha, like, his sister tragically dies, and he has to, like, he comes to Ryan's town saying like he wants to like get something. He keeps saying, I need to get something. I need to finish unfinished business or whatever involving his sister, and like shit's going on with his dad. He has his mom issues and things like that. But when he sees Ryan for the first time, he thinks she's like this cool like Avril Lavigne, you know, I mean, again, like, you know, indie kind of girl, but he realizes that this woman that he's been writing with for all these years is popular. She's a popular cheerleader, and like she's kind of a dick to people. So he lies about his identity when he's there, but there's still like this chemical magical attraction between the two of them, of course. And so it's like kind of, you know, it's just like, you know, they get together, and you're just like it's kind of like a comedy of errors without the comedy, maybe. Like,
yeah, that's accurate. Oh my gosh.
But how did you feel about that premise?
It was a stretch. I thought it did good. It did a good job, because I was like wondering before, like while I was reading it, I was like, this is pretty sweaty, this premise of him coming to this town, and you kind of didn't know. And then once you kind of find out why he had this fake identity, you're like, oh, okay, still a stretch, but he's a teenager. Okay, don't know how he got away with this. Oh, I mean, I guess I could see how, but yeah, it was a sweaty premise, but also it's fantasy, so
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, like, a lot of the reason why it worked is, or like for me, is because they like both made this excuse of like, okay, we're making a promise. We're not looking each up on social media. Like, we can't call each other. We are writing letters only. So it's like they haven't even Googled each other. So they don't even know what they look like. And it's like, that to me was nuts. But I think because of that, I was able to, like, because of this agreement, whatever, like, I was able to buy that, like, oh, they really wouldn't know, you know? And thank God they're both hot. Like,
right. And there's something about, like, it being back in, like, earlier than 2016, because YouTube is really big, and that's, like, the whole deal, right? So I could see it being less easy, less tempting back, like, then.
True. Because it's like these kids have had it, like, their whole lives. Like,
right.
You know, yeah. That is very true. Yeah. It almost felt like, for a second, I was like, is this an adaptation of, like, a Shakespeare thing? Did it feel that way to you? Like, with the different identity, like writing letters and different identities, and like, I don't know, there's just something so, you know,
or like Moliere, I don't know.
Yes, yeah. Like, there was like, it just felt like I was like, is this an update of like some sort of play that I should have read when I was in high school that I didn't?
Right. And he finds out pretty quickly that this cheerleader, he sees her at like a band event, and he finds out pretty quickly, hears somebody say her name, Ryan, realizes it's her, and then when he sees her at school, he's not intending to go to this school to see her. That's sort of like a thing where it's like, okay, well, if that happens, we'll cross that bridge when it gets to it. He goes for this very other reason.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. It's just
it all like, things work out pretty well. Like, it's like, oh, that's convenient. His love interest is also in the place of his plot interest. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Well, they kind of live in neighboring towns, but then it's like, again, you'd never be tempted to go like drive by.
I know.
Yeah.
Or like, I feel like, you know, you're never tempted to like, hey, let's like meet up once a year. Maybe our parents can arrange it because it's so cute. We have having a pen pal is cute. It's cute, you know?
Right. It's real cute. And it's just like crazy to me that they lived so close to each other and never actually met.
Yeah.
It's like, but also it's great. I mean, I love it. I love this conceit.
Oh, I loved it too. I 100% loved it too. I mean,
I was totally sucked in. Yes. I was like, I gotta read it. I think I read it in a day. I was like, this is great. I'm on board.
It fully absorbed me because they're like, in addition to like this like sexy whatever love story that, you know, is full of angst and emotions and hate fucking and things like that. Like, there's also like a mystery because like, you don't know why he's back in, like, you know, he's back in here, not back in town, but you know that he's like in Ryan's town because he needs something, and there is something that he is keeping from her in addition to his real identity. And it's like, oh, I need to find out what it is. Like, there's something huge. And like, it was pretty huge. I mean, it's a spoiler, I don't care. But that you discover that like the mother who had left him is the principal of the school, who's been like kind of excusing kind of the terrible behavior of her stepson, and she has something that belongs to his sister who passed away. It was like the end of Riverdale. Like, I don't know, like, it was just like all at once.
Okay. Here was something that I really wanted to talk about. I thought it was fascinating that it ended where, like, he was, like, basically called his mom out for never coming to see him or her, you know, or his sister, and how it fucked up his sister because she just kept trying to do things to impress her, like, get her attention by being this, like, star athlete and star student, and ended up giving herself a heart attack because she was taking, like, you know, Adderall or something. And so when he asks her at the end, when he finally comes out that it's him, and his mom now knows that it's him, that it's her son, that, you know, she's the principal of the school. Did we say that already?
Yeah, she's like the principal or the vice principal or something. Yeah, she's in the school a lot. Yeah.
So when she finally discovers who he really is, and he asks her, like, straight up, like, like, did you want to be our mom? And she's just like, no, I don't want to have you in my life. And it's like, how? What?
Whew, yeah, it was a heavy scene.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, oh, are there other, I know there's other books in the series, and I'm like, I wonder if there's some, like, secret she's not sharing.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
about
yeah.
why she didn't want to be in the life. Like, did she leave their lives for a reason? Like, or was she just a shitty person? And that just never gets discussed or rationalized.
Yeah, I, like, read that scene as, like, obviously, like, in that scene, this woman's, like, whole world is crumbling down. And, like, obviously, like, she's probably going to be implicated in some sort of investigation involving her stepson doing, like, these terrible things. And she, like, is excusing him or whatever. So I read it as, like, maybe she's just telling him this because it's what he needs to hear at this moment. And maybe she doesn't mean it, but she's just telling him to, because she's, like, having, like, a full-blown panic attack. You know what I mean? And it's just, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Because it's surprising. I mean, like, it's surprising to hear that. It's surprising to read something where a high school student hears that, you know?
Right. To hear something so brutal, like your mom does not want to have contact with you. Mm-hmm. Like, has no regrets about leaving you, didn't want you. Yeah. Your mom didn't want you. Like, how do you move past that?
Yeah, and, like, how do you not have, like, a legit, like, how do you not have a legitimate reason, right? Like,
yeah.
And because, like, I feel like if she full on was like, I want to leave this family, I just don't like them, or whatever, like, that is, like, you're a psychopath. And then it's like, well, then how did a psychopath, like, move all the way up through, like, you know, educational system and, like, get her, like, you know, obviously she has her doctorate, you know, like, how did you survive this long and not, like...
Right. Like, clearly she's fine with kids if she's going to be a teacher, so it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And then for her to only move to, like, the next town over, like...
It makes
it's like
no
a half-hour drive.
Yeah, if you wanted to leave, like, leave the country and, like, dye your hair or something.
Yeah. So it makes me wonder, as like, is this a series? Is there more to this? Is there a story, her story we're not hearing of why she chose to move a single town over?
Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm out of here. And then, like, 15 minutes away, my new life.
My new life.
Yeah. They'll never see me
kids.
Again.
now I'm here with all these kids. And
exactly.
I have my own kids.
Exactly. And then it's like, I mean, no offense to, like, high school students and stuff and kids and stuff, but you're all alike, you know? Like, they're, like, what makes, like, her stepson and her daughter that she has later different from... that, you know what I mean? Like, well, I mean, we know that he's substantially worse, but, like, she marries someone with a kid, like, the year after she leaves her own kid, and those two kids are, like, the same age. So she basically, like, leaves her kid and is now, like, kind of becomes a stepmom to another kid. It's so weird. It's so weird.
So weird. So weird.
Yeah.
But also, kind of, like, it was, like, an interesting choice. Like... It made me pause and go, huh, what? Why?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not typical. Like, typically you'd get that, like, the sobbing thing of, like, oh, I'm a bad person. I just couldn't handle, and then I felt like I couldn't go back to you. That sort of, like, that was what I was expecting to hear, was her, like, you know... Yeah, I love, like, it's a romance novel, and I feel more invested in, like, okay, but these parents, though.
Me too. And I wonder if it's like, oh, now I'm getting to the age where these kids could be my kids. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I'm just like, and we're looking back, and I'm just like, these, like, have you been relating to the parents lately? Like, when you watch, like, a Disney movie now, it's like you relate to the parents way more than the kids now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't have any kids, and I'm like, I know what responsibility is, though.
Yeah. King Triton, not wrong.
He's not wrong. No. Yeah. So for me too, like, I found myself very invested. Like, I was just like, what is he there for? What did he get from her desk? Like, why did he sneak into the home? Like, I was like, yeah, I know he's gonna, like, have his thing with Ryan, and that's the plot point, I guess, of the book. But I'm like, I wanted to understand. Like, I really wanted it makes you want to get to the end, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you hope that they're going to work out. And it's interesting. I feel like they worked it out quicker than I expected them to work it out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. They, like, yeah. Well, and they just, like, profess their love for each other. It's like things are okay, and then it's like, yeah, it's like over a weekend. Like, over a weekend, their lives literally change. Like, it's over a weekend. You have the, like, I professing my love for you, my happily ever after, and then it's like Monday back to school, you know?
I mean, it was a cool reveal to be like, oh, you go from the top of like, you know, she's writing these letters about, basically, she's telling him about herself. And she's doing it, but she's doing it like almost in third person, where she's like talking about the cheerleader, and it sets you up that you're gonna see her as this, like, you know, like dorky loser character. And then it turns out she's the cheerleader the whole time. And like, oh, that was a fun reveal.
I loved that.
Yeah, me too.
Because, like, I, again, like, I think high schoolers have very deep emotions. Teenagers have very deep, intense emotions that, like, I think in media or in books, like, you know, they just get so glossed over because they're teenagers. Yeah. I hated myself so much when I was in high school. Like, and you know what I mean? Like, I just was so, it was like you're going into, like, a war zone every day. And, like, you're analyzing every little thing about yourself. And I was like, whoa. That was kind of mind-blowing, because I feel like in a lot of these books, like, the heroine is usually, like, has her shit together, or she's perfect. She's doing something right. Like, she's not mean. Like, she, like, you know, has a good job, is nice to everyone, you know, whatever. And, like, has, like, has good self-esteem, you know? And this was, like, the first time where I was like, oh, wait a minute, hang on. I wasn't popular in high school, but I was definitely like this in high school. That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Also, she had an eating disorder, but they never really talked about it in the book.
No,
like they just, it was really subtle, but like her friends would be like, "Oh, you're actually eating today," and you kind of realize, like, throughout the book, she just mentions, like, oh, how she's just, like, choosing not to eat. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because they have things where she's like, oh, I'm not going to drink my calories, or I am going to drink my calories today. I'm not going to drink my calories, which is such that sentence, drink my calories, is such like a, you know.
That gave me a, like a what do you, I don't know. Ugh.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
It was like, it made me feel feelings, and I don't like it.
I
yeah. Like it. I mean, I liked it. It affected me.
Right. Yeah, but it just, like, I like, for me, like, I didn't think I was gonna, like, come into this book thinking, like, oh, I'm gonna be really retrospective about my life right now. I was like, I'm just gonna read a fun book about, like, kids who play cool music and fuck, you know?
Yes, that's totally where I thought it was gonna go.
Yeah.
I was like, barely any music, but plenty of song lyrics.
What did you think of the song lyrics? Like, do you see them peppered throughout the book? Given what's his name, old school Tony?
Oh, yeah.
How do his lyrics compare to some of the lyrics?
Oh, that was the thing. He was not a musician, so he was
okay.
He was a talker, not a doer.
Aren't they all?
Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. But how do the lyrics just, like, measure up in general, I would say, as far as lyrics go? Kind of, like, bad?
Yeah.
Is that okay to say?
100%. Yeah. No,
I don't want to critique this. I don't want to critique this author here and be like, the lyrics sucked, but...
No, I think, first of all, I think it's okay, like, you know, because everyone is entitled to their own opinions, you know, and, like, I think, like, you know, it's totally okay to be like, I cringed a little bit when I saw those, like, lyrics, because it is just like, you know, shit like I cringe because I remember writing that stuff down in like my diary.
Yeah, and like it's embarrassing.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like I suppose it is a criticism of the author. Like, yeah, I did not like this specific thing, but that's a fine criticism because it has to do with like our own lives, you know, like it's fine. Yeah, you know, totally okay.
I think it's like something like song lyrics don't translate as well on page. You know, when you don't have like the music there, 'cause the music itself is like what really, you know, that's like it's the lush world that the lyrics live in. Yes. So it's hard when you're just seeing the signs on the road. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah. I just made that up.
No, but like it's like music is not just lyrics. It's it's like it uses all of your senses in a way. Like you're like it's like all different types of sounds, and you're using like your end word, all this stuff. I totally understand what you're saying. Like it was weird to see. Like it felt like I felt embarrassed to read it because I was embarrassed for myself, thinking like, I'm going to write down this Joni Mitchell lyric when I was in like 6th grade, you know, like, on my science notebook, thinking I'm the smartest kid in school.
Me and two of my writing partners, Kate Rappaport and Julia Bartlett, we wrote a screenplay over the pandemic. That's about it's called Punk Moms, and it's exactly what you think. It's like three older women getting their high school punk band back together.
Oh, I love it.
And it was so fun to write those lyrics, but it's also like, it is hard to write lyrics and just write lyrics like and put it on the page and be like, yes, like, God, I hope this comes across to you. Like, it is not easy. So I do applaud the author for at least trying, you know what I mean? Like, and it's very accurate to like a high schooler's brain, how, like, you know.
Yes. I feel like.
They don't have a huge grasp of language. I mean, no, that's horrible.
No,
Teenagers
but you're right. But... They do. But like, I feel like teenagers feel big. They feel big and their world is so small. And so like what they write is just like, so it's like on the nose. It's very dramatic. It's very angsty. And it's like, you know, because they you haven't lived enough to be like, whoa, okay. Like, I'm sure that like he's like writing those lyrics because like someone ate his Cheetos at lunch, you know, like it's like the littlest thing makes you feel the biggest.
Oh wait, and then the end, there's like the epilogue of it.
Yes, where they they get famous. I almost forgot
about it. Wait, say that again.
Oh, they get famous right away. They get famous
so quickly, so fast.
That was insane. So basically, like, they end up together in the end. It's so beautiful. The epilogue is like 5 years later. He's nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Score for one of his songs. I mean, at 21 years old? She is pregnant. They are married and pregnant. And like, granted, this is 5 years from when they graduated high school. I still am a nightmare, but I was a nightmare at that age. Like, how they already had a nice apartment, getting ready to have a baby. Like, had a really nice bathtub. There's a beautiful bathtub scene. I'm just like, these fuckers.
Right? I was like, that's a fantasy. This, I feel like that's like always a thing I don't know. I guess I don't read enough romance novels to know, but is that like a typical thing? Like, do people end up just rich?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like you see some sort of like, not privilege, but some sort of luck of like things work out. So obviously things work out with their hearts, you know, like whatever, they're in love. But then like you also see like the other aspects of their lives work out too because of it, you know. So a lot of the times, because of the world we live in, it is money. It is, you know, this, it is that. But like, you know, some other times I've seen like, I don't know, like someone, I guess that is money. When I was about to say like when someone's business does well, or like when someone's ailing parent is feeling better. Like, you know, like it's always this like, it ends, like all of it ends happy, which is like kind of like why I love it, because I'm like, oh, just things work out. Things work out in these books. I need it.
is lovely. It is a lovely touch. Mm-hmm. I understand.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'm like just because like I have read so many of these and there are so many different endings, and it's just like, oh, it's kind of like for me like, oh, what's the ending this time? Oh, baby and an Academy Award nomination. I was like, oh, what's the ending this time? Oh, they're millionaires. Got it. That's a good ending. You know, like it's just like working out, and I'm so happy for them. I'm so happy for them.
They struggled so hard.
They really did. I mean, there were like big themes in this book, and I feel like I sound like an English teacher of tell me about the big themes in this book. But like there was like a lot at stake of like, I mean, life and death are like part of the stakes in this book, and like I was not expecting that. You know, I was thinking of like I was picturing it being like a teen rom-com almost, like 10 Things I Hate About You, you know?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it ended up being more like
Euphoria.
Yeah.
Do you watch that
minus
show?
The drugs.
Yeah, minus the drugs. But like, I mean, like a little bit of the drug, because like there's some drug use, but like definitely, like I just like don't understand like these schools. I'm just like I don't understand that how a 15-year-old knows where her clitoris. Like I just like don't understand like how I don't understand how like sexually advanced these kids are. And I'm like, this is a different planet. This takes place on a different planet, and I love it. I love it. Don't get me wrong. You just think about yourself at that age, thinking like, I didn't even know what a vibrator was when I was 18 years old. You know, like I didn't know at the time. I mean, I guess that's just me, but like But you see, there's like a very sexy scene, I thought, where he walks in on her, and she has her own vibrator, and like she uses it like she's been using it for 27 years, like the way me, a 38-year-old, would use it. And I'm just like, oh, when I was 18 in that age, I was just like, what's going on? I don't understand. Like, you know, like I was so spaz.
Oh, I can't say it because I was familiar with all the things. I would never have I didn't own a vibrator or anything, but my friend had an electric toothbrush.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My friend, not me. Yeah, I used my friend's electric toothbrush.
That's really nice of your friend to let you use their electric toothbrush.
Let me?
It's very nice. Listen.
I was not a good person.
Yeah. Oh, then fuck that person.
No, I was not a good person.
Oh, you were not a good person. Then fuck you. No. Listen, sometimes you just like we're just doing what we can. Like it's all about survival, and like we don't have any idea what is going on with our bodies at that age.
This is true. Though
these kids do.
Okay. I have we got to talk about the anal sex.
Oh boy, yes we do. Yes, that's a headline. Okay. Yeah.
To me, that is wild. They're just like, oh, yes, okay, now he's going to take her butt cherry. And, you know, I've never done that because I just can't. It's a whole lot of preparation goes into anal sex. And he just, like, does it. And I'm like, how did you just, like, stick it in there. And then, okay.
No lubrication. That's the thing.
No lubrication.
Yeah.
But then I remembered I had this friend... This friend it was a couple, and I remember she was kind of pretty Christian, and it was that thing where they wouldn't have sex. She wouldn't have sex with him, but they had anal sex all the time,
right? Because it wasn't real or whatever.
It wasn't real,
yeah,
right. And I was like, well, I guess anal sex might be more prevalent in teenagers than I thought. I think, but it seemed like a quick thing to being like, oh, okay, they had sex once and now they're having anal sex. Like,
yeah. And it was also very spur of the moment, you know? Yeah. And it's like they talk about it 5 minutes before, maybe. Like that's when they first bring it up, and she's like, oh, I don't think so. And then all of a sudden they're doing it, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Like you could take a breath. I mean, she very much consents. It's a very consensual scene, and she enjoys it. But I'm like, wow, like it was just sped up.
They just went right there.
Oh my
God. And I guess I was like, oh no, but I guess she doesn't eat a lot, so it's not like
she didn't need to like go to the bathroom before and like
yeah, it's not, it's just, you know, she's got a lot going on in her bowels anyways,
Yeah. I mean, when you're young, like, you don't have stomach problems yet. I mean, usually. It's like, so I guess do it while you're fresh. You're welcome, kids. Okay. Yeah, I mean, great. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, one more thing. When her not boyfriend, when Ryan's not boyfriend, the guy
who's bad, yeah.
He's the bad guy. He fucks her friend in the gym. Or in the gym shower. And I am like, where are the teachers? How do children even shower anymore after sporting events? Like, is that, we never used the showers at my high school or middle school.
No, I mean, yeah, we never did.
Did you?
I mean, the athletes did. I remember, like, the football team was, like, treated like royalty. And I remember they would have practice before school would start. And, like, so they would, I remember, like, walking past, like, the gym locker rooms and, like, smelling the shower soap because they were all able to, like, use the showers. And then they would, like, all come out of, like, we're so cool, we all took a shower together, or, like, whatever. And, like, because we played football, you know, like, they were entitled to the showers, but the theater kids, you know, like, the dorks, you know, and the non-athletes, like, were like, there's showers? Like, yeah.
Showers? You know, just for this, I'm not going to wear deodorant.
Yeah, exactly. Like, take that, elites.
I hope there's some theater romance out there, some high school theater kid romance.
There should be. I think that would be so cute, you know, just like, because, like, did you do theater when you were in high school?
Yeah.
It was high stakes. Theater was high stakes. There was drama there. Because, like, the plays and, like, everything that you're doing is so important to you. You know, is like, yes. You know, like Watergate or something. Like, it's so important.
I've never heard high school theater be compared to Watergate.
Yeah.
But it is.
It is.
Exactly that. It's a scandal.
It's like, it's all about, like, if someone is like, oh my God, so-and-so, like, made out with that person, or so-and-so, you know, like, it was like every day was Beverly Hills 90210, like, for a, you know, like, or like every day was just so major, and the littlest things were so major. And that's what I liked about this book, is like, oh, okay, it treated, like, all of these things of just, like, oh, something that happens to her in the lunchroom, which is so innocuous now to us, like, she, you know, something accidentally spills on her. It is literally, like, the most embarrassing thing in the world, and she goes to the bathroom and cries, you know, and, like, and it's like, oh, I remember that era of life, you know.
Yeah. Oh, glad we're not there anymore.
Me too, man. Me too.
Yeah. Now I spill things on myself, just to feel better. You know? I don't know.
Look at now. Sometimes when I'm like, oh, I'll knock something over, and it's like, cool, I can clean it. Something to do, you know?
I would not go that far.
I get so excited when I spill something on the floor, because I'm like, yes, mop, something to do.
Becky, you may need to get out a little more.
Oh, yeah, no, I know. Oh, believe me. I know. I need a pen pal. What were your thoughts? Like, okay, so I'm going to, like, jump back to kind of, like, the beginning and, like, their first kind of interactions in person. And, like, they taunt each other. They bully each other. And yes. He calls her a cunt, and she's, like, a dick to him. And, like, I mean, this is, like, full on, like, they're so rude to each other, even though it's part of, I guess, their flirtation. Maybe?
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, I get the bully romance thing. I get the bully thing a lot. I think about this guy my senior year, Richie Ransom, that I had a crush on. And it was literally just because he was so mean to me. Like, he would just be like, hey, how's your day going? And I'd start to be like, oh, hey, I don't care. And I'd be like, oh, Richie, oh, you're so sexy.
Yes, I 100%. Like, I still have that fantasy.
Yeah, but then here's the thing. It only works when they do also the nice things. So, like, in my yearbook, he wrote something kind of, like, nice, and that was like, hey, you're actually pretty cool, da-da-da, here's my phone number. And then he said a quote that I loved, which was, with every day, you have a new chance. With every evening, you blew it. And I was like, oh, that's so sexy.
He's I don't know what beautiful man.
Yeah, right? What is that? What is that? The willingness to be mean. Is it daddy issues? What is that?
I have no idea, but it is so common. Like, I think, like, I sent you that, like, subreddit that I got completely lost in, and, and like, people were, like, talking about it, and they're like, listen, like, my husband is the nicest person, or my partner is the nicest person, but I just love reading these books where, like, they are full on, there's, like, a satisfaction of someone being a full-on dick to you, and then, but also at the same time groveling like you are the most important thing in the world. And it's like there's a level of closure that maybe we didn't get when we were that age. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That thing of like, oh, like that fantasy fulfillment that we can change somebody's mind about us, that their initial reaction is wrong, and that we are a more whole person than their first impression.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, now I see why. Because, like, I feel like, you know, like, she, like, this is a full story. Like, she comes to they fully change as characters by the end of this thing. Like, they've learned something. They've learned, like, the most important lesson that they're ever going to learn in our lives. Whereas, like, I think in real life, we have yet to learn the most important lesson we've learned in our lives by the end of high school, you know?
Oh, yeah.
There's so many, there's no closure at all. And so I guess maybe, like, reading something like this where it is like, oh, whoa, it's like very high stakes of just like they are so mean but so hot for each other, and they get together, and it's like, I see it now. Like, I completely see it.
Yeah. I think there's the chemical thing of it too. Like, when somebody is cruel to you, it does something to your hormones, and your, like, you know, your shit gets on fire, right?
Yes,
like all inside of you, you start like sing. And then that is easily equatable to like the same feelings of like love and lust and romance. So I think it has to do with that. It's like our body is sensing a threat, and are we gonna have to fight this thing? Oh, we're not fighting, we're fucking now.
It's fight or fuck. You got in fight or fuck? So I was in complete fight or fuck. But like, I get it. I completely get it. Like, there is I love, like, in movies or in these books, like, I love a good hate fuck. Like, you know, or I guess maybe I do. I don't know. No, I don't know. That's complicated. But, like, you know, like, there's something so, like, we love seeing, like, they're at each other's face. They cannot take it anymore. And then it's just, like, bleh.
Madness. Yes, they must
just kiss. Complete madness.
Did you watch Never Have I Ever on Netflix?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very similar thing with her, with Davy and Ben.
Yes. And I loved that plot line so much because they were so delightfully mean, like, full on mean to each other. And, like, but then, and I loved how they were mean to each other. And I just feel like, again, it's like not something that, like, you usually see in, like, books and movies, because it's like, oh, if they're friends, they're going to be friends. Like, oh, if they're this, they're going to be this. It's like, no, they're going to be friends, but, like, literally wish the other one was dead, you know? But they also love each other, and they're going to end up together.
Yeah, right. They're going to be happily ever after?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm quoting that.
I know. Yeah.
Like, how do you not? How do you, like, they can't, like, Ryan and Misha can't be happy, like, truly fully happy in this future. It's not like his mom tells him, you know, yeah, no, I don't want to be in your life, and then he's like all of a sudden fine. I'm like, that would fuck you up. That's gonna take you a while. But
yes. Yeah.
It's fantasy. It's beautiful.
It's fantasy. It's beautiful. No one needs therapists. Like,
we're all healed.
We all heal so quickly. It's so lovely.
Yes. Yes, fiery relationship can heal all.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Especially if it involves anal sex.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just do it in the butt. Things are fine, you know?
What did we learn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's anything we learned, do it in the butt. It was, like, did you have a favorite sex scene? Like, was there one that, like, is sticking with you?
I mean, that one.
That one,
the butt
yeah.
one. The butt one. I mean, as far as... there was the one where he like... The one where he like, walks in on her with the vibrator is kind of like, oh, that's like legit, like, fantasy that I used to have, like, early morning used to have.
Yeah.
And then the sexy, hot punk guy with the piercings and the tattoos comes in and is like, oh, you need a hand?
Yeah. And you're like, hell yeah, I do. Yeah. That was like a dream come true. That was a dream come. Okay, anyway.
Also, how did her mom and sister not hear?
I don't understand. Like, I was completely unable to sneak out of my house at night. Like, there were screens on the windows. The whole house shook every time any door would open. Right. I don't understand how these teenagers are able to, like, get out of the house.
I mean, parents not involved, but she's got literally, she has a ladder, like, next to her window. And I'm like, how's her mom, like, not going around the corner seeing, like, there's just, like, a permanent ladder hanging out here.
It's all so convenient for them. It's all, like, everything was so convenient. Like, thank God my mom's a deep sleeper.
Right. Oh, thank God my dad is too traumatized by my sister's birth to even, like, call me or see where I am.
Yeah, and it's like, what made me laugh is also, thank God I have a cousin who can hack into the school system and put my name in.
Yes.
Could you imagine, like, hey, bro, I need you to do me a solid. I need you to hack into the school system and enroll me, man. And it's like, who wants to do that?
Right? And then at the end, the cousin comes with his, like, rich friends who work for this, senator or, like, the governor. Right. And you're like, oh, I don't know if you saw, there's an excerpt for another book, I think, in the series. That's why I was like, oh, where it's the cousin and those guys' stories when they were in high school.
Oh, nice. I'm definitely, like, I saw one that she wrote that's in a different series, but it's, like, kind of the same thing where it's, like, they're older, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll read that next and just see what it's like. Because, like, again, like, not that this made me uncomfortable, like, they were young, they were both over 18, you know, this is fantasy, this does not take place in the real world, whatever, but it's like, I don't know, for me, like, I don't know about you, but, like, I love reading characters that are, like, closer to my age, you know, like, like, when they go through these things, because, like, you know, you're putting yourself in the character's shoes a bit, you know?
Yeah, it is a little weird to, like, read about people in high school having sex, but also, like, I don't know, I did all that.
Of course. Yeah. And, like, it's, and, like, again, like, thinking about those, like, Reddits of, like, oh, this is, like, a fantasy for me, and it's, like, I totally get it. I guess I'm, like, maybe my fantasy, no, this isn't my fantasy. This is to make me feel better. I want to see adults acting like kids and acting like little shits to each other because I've made mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to see flawed characters, very flawed characters, make really shitty mistakes and be really shitty people, but, like, still get their happily ever after. Like, that's what, you know, like, I want to see that. And it's just like, oh, not every character needs to save the cat. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, I want to,
Have you read anything like that where it's those characters?
I have, yeah. And it's like, and recently too. And, like, I read one book where there's a woman, and, like, even, like, in the reviews, like, there'll be, like, some reviews that were like, oh, whoa, I didn't like this character. She was, like, too hot, too cold, and, like, she didn't like herself. And, you know, you see, like, readers, like, there were readers who didn't like, I was reading the reviews of this book, and there were readers who didn't like the main character because she didn't like herself, and she didn't have high self-esteem, and that was it was like, oh, I couldn't stand her, and it's like I crave those characters. I crave those
Yeah.
characters, and it's like but I don't know. I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. You don't
And
see it a lot.
I liked it because it was like her description of why she wanted friends. I really connected with that. Like,
Same.
I connected with her, like her reality of like her describing being a young kid in elementary school and wanting to be part of what you're perceiving as being having friends and being that, and like being willing to like give up and stop talking to somebody you actually like connect with and actually relate to in order to achieve this thing that you think will make you happier, and then working that hard to like I mean, I never ended up doing that, but like when I was a kid, I stayed with the dorks. Like
Right, yeah.
I just like leaned into it really hard. I was like, this is me. I'm just a nerd. But there were times where I tried to be like more popular and be like, oh, well, what are the popular kids wearing and how are they doing their hair? And it always is like just a mess. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh, the cool thing is to like scrunch our hair. And I had very straight hair and it would not scrunch. And so I went and I got a perm and it just looked terrible. It just made my hair like looked dry and did not curl. So
Yeah.
it's like those little like attempts you make when you're like, yeah, because you're lonely. And
Exactly. You just want to, I think like, I think like even though you say like, oh, I was a dork, I think what she wanted wasn't necessarily to be cool, even though like it's cool to be cool, but like she just wanted to feel like she belonged somewhere. And like it could have been the dorks that like, took her in and she would have had her, family, but like she just like I think everyone like no matter what status you are in like school society or whatever, like you just want to not be alone, like being alone is the lowest of the low. It's not like being in theater or being in band or whatever is dorky. I don't know, like it's just being alone is like ugh, you feel it, like sitting alone at the lunch table and like
and then if you try to make friends and they just don't connect, like they just don't hook on, it's like, oh, it's so painful, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, and those are like really like they are things that we felt, but those are very big deep emotions, like because this is our world. The lunchroom's our world. Making friends is our world,
Recess,
and like and like I felt like she tells a story about like she was hanging out with like one girl, that she kind of abandoned on the recess on the playground, to go with the cool kids, and she still thinks about her. And I just was like, oh, that I'm like, I felt for both the girl who was abandoned, but then I also felt for Ryan too. Cause like, I think we've done things, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
We've all hurt other people in our quest to belong.
Exactly. Yeah. Hurt people.
Yeah. And that's painful. It's painful to think about those mistakes.
It is. It really is. That's why I was so floored seeing it in like my book genre that I use as escapism. That's like what was like so bonkers to me and was just not expecting.
Yeah. You're like, oh, this is fun, sexy, fun, romance. Everything always works out in the end. You're like, oh, my feelings.
I know. And I'm like, God, should I write letters to people now? Like I have so many people I need to write letters. I have so much apologizing to do.
Oh my God. Well, I enjoyed the whole thing. It was, I mean, I really did. So thanks for that. This assignment was great.
Yay! I'm so glad you enjoyed it. And like, honestly, thank you. Because like, I guess popped my bully romance cherry, as they say, as I attempted to say. I was so scared to read it because of these like very like deep, I was just like, oh, is this going to be triggering, like, or whatever. And this was like, it's now I'm like, all I want to read is this type of romance now. Because like, and so thank you, for getting me to this place. I feel like I've grown so much.
Do you have a former Like, do you have a crush from your past who was a bully to you?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
If someone was a bully to me, I was immediately in love with them. But but there is something like, yeah, like I'll still like, when I was that age, like seeing someone who was a bully to me, I thought was like, I was like, they're so charismatic. I want to be like, the things you're saying are so clever, even though it's all to put me down. I was like, I love your word choice, you wordsmith of a man. But yeah, like there was one kid who bullied me, who friended me on Facebook. That was like an instance where I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna, like, that was just a different, like, kind of, he was, didn't friend, I didn't care to.
There's bullying, and then there's like bullying where you're like, oh, gross.
Yeah, there's where it's like, oh, this is toxic harassment. You know what I mean? And but like there wasn't any sort of like, I mean, Trey obviously is a harasser, but like but between them, the bullying in this is like, it's like they're poking, it's their foreplay, and it's not harassing. It's just like this is how they love each other. Man. Well, Nikki, thank you so much for being a guest. This was so much fun. I'm so glad we were able to read this book and have you on.
Oh, what a pleasure. Thank you.
Can you tell us where we can find you online and such?
Yeah, sure. I'm online at the Nicky Urban, the Nicky Urban on Instagram. That's mostly, I think. I'm barely low on social media. I gotta get back in it.
Me too. I always feel very silly when I ask guests, like, are you on the the
internet
plugs, like the thing, like, do you want I have you heard of this thing called MySpace? It's fascinating. That is how I feel right now.
Yeah, for real. Here, I'll plug my show Surprise Bitch on July 15th. It's a sketch show, and it's gonna be pretty good. No, awesome. It's gonna be fucking great and hilarious. Yay! Blow your mind.
Well, go see that, everyone. Thank you, Nikki.
There's some punks in it.
Oh, well, in that case, I'm there.
Literally, you asked me, what is punk? And I have that, there's like a section in this sketch where I'm like, what is punk? What is punk? What's punk? Like,
oh my God.
Do you know what punk is?
Yeah.
So.
Minds will be blown, baby. We'll finally find out. Come to the show. We'll find out what punk really is.
We won't. Spoiler alert.
I promise you're going to find out what punk really is.
Oh, crap. I better start researching.
Well, thank you so much, Nikki. This was delightful.
Thank you. It was. I mean, you are great and delightful.
Oh,
the
my
book
God.
Was.
Oh, geez, Louise. Stop it. Yo, I'm going to hit stop record. If you'd like more information on today's book, as well as a chance to read the synopsis, you can go to tstlpodcast.com. Too Stupid to Live is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. For more podcasts you'll love, visit frolic.media/podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great rest of your day.